Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's interview. Today, I am delighted to be joined by Rob De Groof. Rob is one of Europe's leading hypnotists and is the owner of the very successful Hypnosis Centre in Belgium. He's also the owner and head trainer of the European Hypnosis Academy, where he has trained hundreds of students in direct hypnosis. Rob is the official trainer of the Jeffery Stephens protocol, and one of his goals is really to keep Jeffrey's techniques and approach alive and well. So welcome, Rob. It's great to have you here today.
Hello.
Hello. And it's great for listeners to get the chance to find out a little bit more about the presentation that you'll be giving at this year's UKHC. And I know that you presented last year at the convention, and this year you'll be giving a presentation on the Friday morning entitled The Black Room Technique. So perhaps you could begin by just giving listeners a bit of background about the way that you work, because you use a lot of direct hypnosis and you work quite fast, isn't that right? So
Yeah.
maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's correct. So most of the time we use direct hypnosis here in the Hypnosis Centre in Belgium. The basic protocol that we use is the Jeffery Stephens protocol, the one that I was talking about last year at the UK Hypnosis Convention. So it's a direct hypnosis protocol. It's a 10-step protocol, and like 80% of the sessions that we're performing here in Belgium, all my 6 therapists and myself, of course, is 80% of the time we use the Jeffery Stephens protocol. Of course, we use also different techniques. We also use the Swan a lot, Bob Burns. I'm also a trainer for Bob Burns here in Belgium. We use virtual gastric band. We use different, we have a toolbox like every hypnotherapist, a toolbox filled with good techniques and approaches. And we select what we need. But most of the time we use direct hypnosis. We rarely do regression here in the Hypnosis Centre, only when somebody has lost something or wants to remember something, then we can use regression, but we're not going to use regression to solve a problem. Most of the time we use direct hypnosis. So the black room is also a technique that we use. It's more a technique that we use with sports people or artists or persons who want to have a skill, the skill that they can use in their profession. So black room is not for stop smoking or whatever. Although and that's something I'm going to discuss also in London at the UK Hypnosis Convention. I'm now recreating a bit the black room, so you can use it also after a regular session for future pacing. So that's something I'm working on. A few of my students are doing tests with it. So I asked a few of my students to use the idea that I had with their clients, and the feedback is really good. So that's something I'm also going to address in London.
Okay, because it's primarily a modeling technique, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's
but
correct.
I've heard you speaking before about using it in quite different contexts. So
yeah.
I think I heard you mention about using it with a husband or something, something to do with his
No.
with something to do with his relationship. But yeah, you use it in a lot of different contexts.
Yeah. You can model everything. So most of the time we do it with sports people or artists. I worked a lot with artists, like a guitar player who's and he didn't want to add something to his guitar playing skills, but the only thing that he wanted was to have the same experience as his colleague. So his model was not a famous guitarist, was just his colleague in the band, and he was more enjoying when he was playing. He was more expressive when he was playing, and he said the first note we're playing, you see that he's enjoying, and that he just he wants to be on that stage, and he and that's what I want. I want to have the same feeling, the same joy when I play the guitar, when we do a live gig, as my colleague. So his model was just his colleague. So the model doesn't have to be, sometimes people think that the model has to be a very famous person or whatever, but you can actually model on a colleague, on somebody of your family, whatever skill that you want to take. You just need somebody who has that skill. And even then you can adjust a few things, because sometimes you don't, let's say I did it with some sales people. They want to have the same sales skills as their colleague, but they they are another type of person. You have the introverts, you have the extroverts, but then you can just take whatever you need from that person and then adapt it to yourself, and that's what we're doing in the Black Room.
Yeah, and of course, you know, most hypnotherapists will use modeling at some point with their clients.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's modeling technique is a technique that you can use for every type of for issue. You can enhance the feeling by modeling. You can and that's why how I came up with the idea of use the Black Room or part of the Black Room also after a session to do some future paging, just to enhance the change that's in progress of that's already occurring. So that's something I'm working on now. So in London, I'm going to give the feedback of those tests as well.
okay. And so your presentation will involve a demonstration then with
I will
someone from
do
the audience?
I will do a full Black Room session. My sessions are as you mentioned in the introductions, my sessions are most of the time quite short. So when I do a hypnosis session, I always use instant inductions. I don't use those long type of inductions. So typically my sessions are in between 10 and 15 minutes. A Black Room session can be a bit longer, like 16, 17 minutes. It depends a bit on what skill that or what model they're using and what are the activities that we have to show them in the Black Room. But I will do a full demonstration. So probably I'm going to put out a call for a volunteer in the UK Hypnosis Convention Facebook group, because I need somebody who's a bit prepared. So I just can't pick somebody out of the room. He's not prepared. He doesn't have the model. He doesn't have the activities in mind. So I need somebody. So maybe somebody who's watching now and want to get in touch with me. So I need somebody who wants to take over skills from a certain hypnotist. Actually, I did it with myself as well. So the moment I start teaching in English-speaking countries, so I'm used to teach the Jeffery Stephens protocol. I'm used to do demonstrations in Dutch, of course. That's the language that I do here. So I do my sessions in Dutch. And then I start traveling to do the Jeffery Stephens protocol or other trainings in English. So I modeled myself with Jeffery Stephens. So I did a self-hypnosis Black Room. So I modeled myself with Jeffery, so I could do the demonstrations in English as maybe they are not as fluently as I can do them in Dutch, of course. But now I'm not nervous to do a session in English anymore. I know that I have the skills. I took them over in self-hypnosis, so I have the calm and the right mindset to do a good session in English, and that's something I use the Black Room for. So that's a good way to describe what you can do with the Black Room.
Yeah, and so just to clarify this, the Black Room isn't actually part of the Jeffery Stephens protocol that you teach. This is an aside. So even if listeners have previously learned the protocol, this is something that they may not have encountered before.
No, that's something Jeffery created the Jeffery Stephens protocol, so the 10-step protocol. Then he also has a program that's called Symbology, and then we have the Black Room. So so the Black Room is a separate technique. Well, here in Belgium, I teach those two techniques, Symbology and Black Room, in the Jeffery Stephens advanced training. But when I'm traveling, I do a one-day workshop or one-day training where I include the Symbology, the Black Room, and Jeffrey's in the zone protocol for sports people. Also, that's another technique that he created. So that's one of the goals in my life, as you said in your introduction, is to keep Jeffrey's legacy alive, because the techniques are so good. And since Jeffery died, there are only 3 official trainers in the world. I'm the only one that's really traveling the world. So I really want to keep the legacy alive, because when I don't do it, the only things that there are the DVDs, but people are not finding those DVDs there. And a training, the thing is, you have to adapt techniques all the time as well. So that's why I choose to do some investigation to see if I can use the Black Room in another context after the session as future pacing. So that's what I want to do. We use the techniques here a lot. We have a lot of experience. So I want to go and teach people these wonderful techniques. So that's what that's my goal in life, actually.
Yeah. And so you've already given us the example of how you use this with yourself, when you're teaching in English, which is a lovely example. Or do you have any more kind of, examples that come to mind of particular instances where you've used this with your own clients?
Yeah, I had this football player. I can't mention his name because he's getting quite famous now. And it was still when he was a younger boy, and he was playing at the youth team, a quite famous Italian youth team. And he wanted to work on his free kick. So he actually modeled Lionel Messi, of course. That's the model that they use, that the soccer players want to use. So he modeled his free kick technique on Lionel Messi, and the gain that he got out of the session was enormous. We have also, it's actually not a client that I did, but it's more a story from a student. And that she worked with a tennis player, her grandson, and she used the technique to model. I think it was Djokovic. I think the backhand from Djokovic, and he was playing in also quite high level in the Netherlands. And the moment he returned to his trainers, they hadn't seen him for like 14 days, and they couldn't believe what happened. They say, "What's wrong with your backhand? It's much better than your forehand now." And the guy responded like, "Yeah, my nanny did something strange, and since then my backhand is really good now." So it's actually
I love these stories.
Yeah, it's a very good technique. I did the sessions I did for the online video training were in because I wanted to have not only sports people, so just regular people who want to learn something. So I had somebody who was doing like pole dancing, just like an amateur going to pole dancing lessons, and so I did it with her. We had somebody who wants to be able to speak just online more. And she mentioned her model was one of the famous YouTubers. I don't remember his name. I didn't know the guy, but I don't need to know the guy. It's even so that, especially when you see one of the sessions that Jeffrey did with his son, his son wanted to keep the actual activity a secret. So he's mentioning the name of the model. But he never mentioned the activity. So you can, even if you have a client who doesn't want to share what activity it is, but he just gives you the name of the model, then you can work. So the good thing of the black room is the client doesn't have to give much information. Of course, the more information they can give you, the more you can put details in the session, and that's stronger. But if they really want to keep it secret, it's no problem. It will work anyway. So, and the other good thing is also for people who work with clients that they can't always use a formal induction. You can do the black room without a formal induction. Just have them close their eyes. And of course, I always think it's much stronger when you hypnotize people and you really do the session in hypnosis. But if you can't use hypnosis, if you're working with like sports people and you're working in a sports team and you can't mention hypnosis because you're just like the mental coach, then you can use it. You just let them close their eyes, maybe do a bit of a deepener that they even don't feel like it is a hypnotic deepener, and then you can work with a black room. Also with because sometimes a lot of people, I never had the problem with the black room, but more with symbology. Sometimes people think that they can't visualize something, but then during my talk, I also will explain how you can do a little exercise with somebody so that they know how, I can visualize. I'm not a visual person. I can create images in my mind, but I don't see anything. And in the beginning, when I started with hypnosis and somebody did like a visualization technique with me. I was always, I'm not a good visualizer. But now I understand that you don't have to see the actual, everybody can think of
Everyone does it
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah, everybody does it differently. So I can think about whatever. So yesterday when no, on Sunday, I had a training here and we were using some visualization technique. And I saw some of my students thinking, I'm not a good visualizer. So I did the exercise and I just described them some things and they all had a feeling, or they all
Yeah.
had a not a real image,
representation.
a representation in their mind of the things
Yeah.
that I was describing. So everybody can do it. So the black room you can do with every type of client, even they don't have to be somnambulist, they don't have to be good subjects.
Yeah.
You can do it with every type of client.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot in there.
There's a lot in there. That's
There's
correct.
a lot in there. And so before we bring it to an end, then you've mentioned that maybe someone watching this will want to be a participant in a demonstration. Is there anything in particular you would like to specify that
Actually,
would be good for anyone coming forward?
The only thing that they need is a model. So I need the name of a model, a famous person, or I did quite a lot of sessions with people who want to do public speaking, like Barack Obama.
Okay.
Every time when they start public speaking, at that time Barack Obama was still president, and they that was always the first person they had in mind.
Public speaker.
Yeah, it's a good public speaker. So, but you need somebody who knows the skill, who does the skill the way that you want to do it. So that's really important, and that's all I need. And it doesn't have to be. It can be anything. I did a session once with somebody who's a DJ, and she was one of my students, but she was also doing playing music at festivals, and she wanted to be modeled with one of the famous DJs and things like that. So everything.
So as long as they have a clear image in their mind of the person that they want to model.
That's all I need. And if they can, they know what activities that they want to take over. Sometimes it's not all like with Djokovic, only the backhand or whatever. We can work on a specific thing. We can also work more on attitude or behavior or whatever thing that they want to take over from the person. It will work.
Okay, great.
So if there's somebody out there, they can contact me. So then we can maybe have a Zoom call, and then I can do a little pre-talk up front. So I don't have to do it because we only have like 50 minutes. So that's not that long time to do the explanation and the demonstration. So it's better that I know the volunteer up front, so we can have a little chat. So they can just send me an email at info@europeanhypnosisacademy.com, or send me a messenger on Facebook. They will find me on Facebook, and they can send me a friend request and send me a message, a private message, and then I will get in touch.
Okay, great. So for anyone who is interested in coming along to see Rob at this year's UK Hypnosis Convention, or has still to get their tickets, you can do so by going to ukhypnosisconvention.co.uk. And Rob, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us today. It sounds really interesting. I mean, like I said before, modeling is just one of those things that all hypnotherapists use with clients at some point, in their session. So I think any way that we can tighten that up, or kind of get a better grip on it, is always going to be useful.
Okay, it was my pleasure to be here.
Yes, and I look forward to speaking to you in November.
Okay, looking forward to be there. Yeah, bye.
Yes, bye.